Saltburn was the movie that got the attention from a new generation who either repelled or basked in its candy-coated antics of twisted deception and psychosexual thrills. But everyone was deceived, for another film was made. In the land of France, actually the film was solely shot in Italy, but it was made by a Frenchman. And yes, this video is inspired to beat the drums for an old French film, a film spoken in French, to an audience that is majority American.
You're what the French call les incompetents.
What?
But hear this out, because it was you who watched Saltburn, putting it all over your platforms, drawn to it, questioning what it had to say beyond existing as a Tumblr-fied nihilistic sexual hullabaloo. But I digress. Actually, I can't honestly say I'll digress, because this video may end up feeling tedious.
I know.
Holding you against your own will with me preaching about a 60s French film. Still, it's absolutely necessary to recognize the controversy around Saltburn and ask why you, the audience, was so divided. What can we understand from the exploitation of its viral moments featuring human Drano and grave humping?
Well, that can't be good.
Can we have some insight into how modern audiences think? Whether you're a film lover or someone who casually watches movies like Saltburn, it's my task to not let you forget the stories that came before. There's nothing new under the sun. That includes stories that are bound to be retold again and again. Amongst you, many have not even seen the talented Mr. Ripley, the American film that is more commonly associated to Saltburn. But now I know, even fewer have seen, let alone ever heard, of Purple Noon.
Oui, monsieur.
Like its Western remake, the story follows Tom Ripley, a young American sent to Italy, tasked with convincing wealthy playboy Philippe Greenleaf to return home and take over the family business.
Very heavy, man.
As Tom becomes obsessed with Philippe's luxurious lifestyle, he devises a plan that will allow him to take reins of the life he so desperately wants. Incidentally, the French title means full sun or bright sun, and like the clarity of things at sea, Ripley acts upon his desires, committing some of his most atrocious acts at open water in plain daylight. So, you could see the two stories mirroring one another. A somewhat impoverished individual inserts himself into the social pipeline of the better off, conning them until he hijacks their status and power, a talented leech, forging himself into a career criminal to an eventual serial killer. Why then is it even worth mentioning, let alone highly recommending that you take the time to visit the original version of the same story? Well, I think the intentions of the story are often lost, especially when it comes to Saltburn and the way it depicts all its characters. It leaves audiences concluding that this is a cautionary tale about the war of classes, where the rich are bad and idiots, or that the poor should be feared by the rich, which ends up being similar ideas. At its core, though, it's my understanding that this story is meant to demonstrate the sinister capabilities of an individual. Yes, poor, rich, middle class will forever be exploiting each other.
Money can be exchanged for goods and services.
But it takes a truly disturbed and materialistic narcissist to orchestrate a scenario like this. I guess when comparing Saltburn to Purple Noon, we have to differentiate the characters and their trajectory, focusing on the two lead performances whose versions have a lot of their respective films' impact resting on their shoulders. Purple Noon was the breakout performance from Alain Delon, who led an impressive career, cementing him as an icon in French cinema. He recently passed away in August. It gives it all the more reason to check out his filmography. His essence of Tom Ripley models outward calm and cool, capable of going undetected by most, as his plots get continuously more unhinged. But his level of sophistication and worldliness is merely surface level, eventually leading him to his downfall. You get to witness the extremes of finesse, but not without getting, in my opinion, the necessary satisfaction of having the vigorous manipulator caught. Well, this leads to Saltburn. The movie wants to leave you feeling, wow, that's pretty fucked up, by having Oliver get away with everything, basking in the glory of his success. The blatant display of celebration continues to be empty of substance, relying only on flashy cosmetics. And I honestly think the younger generation of audience tend to default to nihilistic belief systems, leading them to relish in the outcome of Saltburn's weak trickery.
I don't fucking care!
Barry Keoghan once again seemed typecast into playing the peculiar stray. His character Oliver isn't realized beyond being anything but obnoxiously creepy.
You're a fucking liar, Ollie.
It's pathetic and beyond unbelievable that the surrounding characters would keep Oliver around. The wealthy family members are too obnoxious.
Does no one else find it weird?
What's happening?
So yeah, the lame campiness of the movie ultimately achieves nothing to explore the themes of desire in any meaningful way. Bringing it back to Purple Noon, I absolutely loved how it made you buy into the validity of Tom tagging along, sharing in Philippe's escapades. Philippe leads a happy-go-lucky life, unhindered by the restraints of money. He feels no trepidation besides that of settling down perhaps, and this makes him vulnerable to a person like Tom. Even on the brink of recognizing Tom's ill plans, he remains captivated, wanting to absorb the psychology of Tom.
Vous parliez comme moi. Recommencez.
I think this makes perfect sense for someone whose default in life is to explore every corner of land and culture. So Philippe has one last go, diving into the recesses of Tom Ripley's mind. It makes for a fascinating and nuanced interaction between predator and prey. Saltburn sort of pulls a bait and switch by the end of Oliver's covert tyranny. We're initially led to believe that Oliver was mainly infatuated with Felix in his purity and the way people surrounding him would rejoice in his greatness. But of course, Oliver seeks to control, and to have that over someone he seems to love, he has to ultimately destroy Felix.
I hate him.
After Oliver murders Felix, we sit through the fallout in disbelief. Not in disbelief of what Oliver did, despite the movie's lame attempts to subvert the inevitable truth behind Oliver, but by trying to have us believe this pathetic family would keep Oliver around through all this. And once they finally excuse Oliver,
I think it's time, Oliver, for you to go home.
after enough people have died, there's a decade-long hiatus until Oliver returns, now suddenly seeking to seize control over the family's estate so that he could live an elevated life of luxury. Oliver couldn't have had this plan all along during his time at school with Felix and then staying at Saltburn. These circumstances came about eventually through some half-witted exercises of poisoning drinks and insinuating someone commit suicide by supplying razor blades, to just waiting for the father to finally die by nature's cause. What the fuck was Oliver doing for those 10 years? I have no idea. There was no ambition to Oliver's movements, and the passion that the original Tom Ripley trajectory had is completely void in Saltburn. Tom Ripley was having to constantly act towards a singular goal in mind, with no time to second guess himself. It made for an absolute thrill ride, to the point of near annoyance just when you think he'll get away scot-free, only to then have the rug pulled out from under him, with his actions finally catching up to him. It's brilliant that until the very last shot, Tom thinks he's won. So in all, Saltburn's shallow interpretation creates a perpetual loop leading to a shallow perception from the audience. And no matter what kind of audience you are, your opinion is there to say something about whether movies are evolving or devolving. Each one of you will decide for yourselves. But I say, may Saltburn lay to rest, buried beneath its predecessors from whom it failed to adapt and refine any qualities to a worthy story. Purple Noon remains suave, thrilling, set to beautiful backdrops, while in the forefront you get a breakout, charismatic, and layered performance by Alain Delon. Please do yourselves the favor and watch René Clemet's Purple Noon. As always, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video and want more like it, subscribe to Elephant Den for weekly uploads. You're awesome.